Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Sammy, United People's TV. Sorry I'm a minute or two late today. I updated my computer yesterday, the new Mac OS, and seemingly there are some software issues. So I hope that everything works today. And if it doesn't, that's why. And I'm going to try and fix it after the show. But let's see. Let's see if we can have a good one. I can't get sound on any tabs I share yet. Annoying. Anyway, we're going to be speaking about the stadium, Old Trafford. Will it be demolished? Will it be renovated? What's going on? I'm going to run through an article from The Athletic. Quite a few stories came out around the new stadium yesterday, or Old Trafford being renovated. Going to run through one from The Athletic, a little statement from Manchester United about a new fan survey that's going to happen. Also, Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail last night suggesting that Man United have decided to demolish Old Trafford. I'm going to be seeing what is written there. We'll also speak about new contract conversations around Kobbie Mainoo and some big injury news for the fact that Rasmus Hojlund and Mason Mount are both back in training, which is really good news. And as always, fire in your questions, fire in your comments. I will try and interact with as many of you as I possibly can. Let's see who's here from the mods and the member gang. Manor, good morning to you. Carl, you're there. Alex, you're there as well. Josh, you'll always be there. How you doing, buddy? Right, let's see who else is here. From the member gang, we've got Vinny, Stephanie, Ricky, Steve, Andrew, Dan, and Damien. And on Facebook, we've got Matt Frost. How you doing? Chris Wynn, Darren Lee, and Jennifer. Jennifer. What's this called, Jennifer? Fun fact. Not really that fun. Yep. Fire any questions, fire any comments. What I want to quickly say to start this show, and I was going to say this a little bit later, but I'm going to say it now. You can see, ladies and gents, it is comic strip time. I've been speaking about the new posters that we're going to be bringing out. And hopefully we're going to be launching tomorrow morning. And I've got a cool video I want to show you here. This I really love. It's the promo video that we've got designed for these posters. Now, unfortunately, you can't hear the sound properly because for some reason it's not working. That's what I was trying to get sorted this morning. But you can hear it in the background a little bit and you can watch it. I think, look, I'm proud of a lot of things that I do here on United People's TV. I think this is probably my favourite bit of sort of or merch or poster that we've designed. I think they look cool. Really, really cool. So they should be going out tomorrow morning. Members at every level, make sure you check out the community tab. I'll leave your discount codes in there. And yeah, you can get them framed, unframed, whatever size you want. There's 3 different colour frames. There's black, there's white, and I think there's oak. And in my opinion, they're pretty reasonably priced for the quality of what it is. So that's going to be going out tomorrow. I think lots of you will love them. And these 3 are only the start. That's the Skulls one down there, Garnacho against Everton, and Cantona against Sunderland. There's going to be more coming across the course of this season. If anything magical happens, we'll be doing new ones around those. And yeah, I love them, man. I think they're really, really cool. They look pretty good too. You can actually get them in A1, which is double that size, which is a massive poster. But you can get it double that size if you want. Anyway, let's run through the show. Chetan, I know you heard a little bit of sound, but it should be coming direct from Chrome. But for some reason, you're only hearing it through the mic. I don't really know what's going on with the... there's some software bugs, clearly. Ashok, I can see they're gifted 5 memberships, dude. Thank you very much. Make sure you go into the community tab tomorrow and get your discount code because all members will have a discount code. All right? Now, this story I wanted to speak about first. You know what I like to do? Any stories around United or just wider football that I think are of interest, I like to speak about them. And Rodri here saying, look, there's no other option because the schedule's so demanding. There is a concept or a possibility that footballers will go on strike. And there's going to be people that, footballers are millionaires. How dare they complain about working? You've got the dream. How dare you complain? Football has reached a point now where there is just so much football that the quality of football overall, on a game-by-game basis, I think comes down a little bit. I would rather have less games of a higher quality and a higher intensity throughout than more games to the point where you might say is it how dare you suggest going on strike? UEFA and FIFA are just throwing in more and more and more and more and more and more and more. You've got the FIFA Club World Cup. You've got the extra Champions League and Europa League games. I don't know. I'm not surprised at all. I don't actually think you can fit any more in, if I'm being honest. I think the way that the schedule is drawn up now, football-wise, I don't think you can fit any more in. So maybe I don't agree with the concept of going on, but something's got to be done. I don't know. I think so anyway. What was saying down there? Their only commodity is their body. They want to protect that. Well, I'd rather 11 ridiculously sharp footballers played 2 or 3. Look, 3 games a week is pretty par for the course. I think it's more the fact that you got the Club World Cup, which is coming, which just looks like a joke, really, and the extra and the extra Champions League games. Just rotate your squad. Look, too much of anything in life makes it less enjoyable. I think the same goes for football. That reaches a saturation point. I think we've reached that. And yeah, I think the quality and just, I suppose, the enthusiasm about it kind of diminishes a bit when you just have constant games. So I think so anyway. I want to also quickly mention this. I'm going to try and give it a listen later if I've got the time. But Phil Jones was on the High Performance podcast, which is a little bit, let's be honest, a bit cringy. But he was speaking about his career, right? And this is what he said. Now, you can read that yourself. I don't need to read this out. But it's just kind of Phil Jones, I suppose, defending his career. Like, to people who kind of point and laugh at Phil Jones, said, well, man, I bet you wish your career went completely differently. What an awful career. And he's like, I won the league. I was a United player for 10 years, played over 200. Damn. That came out of nowhere. Bless me. And he's just saying, look, I've won the league. I've played the 2 World Cups. I've won the Europa League. I won the FA Cup. I'm pretty happy with my career, no matter what you say. And I think I've spoken about Phil Jones a fair few times on here. And I can only do this on like on a micro scale. So I'm saying how frustrated I've been getting with this ankle. It's like 7 months in, I still can't jog on it. There's so much bone pain there through basically how they've put my ankle in a different position, my foot in a different position. There's now bone pain. And Phil Jones spent so many years on the rehab table. And it must have been ridiculously frustrating. Remember that game against Wolves where he came back? Like, man of the match performance. You could tell that he had been waiting for that for a long time. Kind of a release. Anyway, I've always felt a little bit sorry for Phil Jones. I mean, he was a bit of a parody player towards the end, wasn't he? I think we all know that. But look, let's go into the main talking points for today. And let's start off with the positive injury news before we go into the actual main topic, which is Old Trafford and what's being said about that. And we've got confirmation, we've got photos here that Hojlund and Mount are both back in training. I'll tell you what, Mason Mount in the first couple of games this season, our pressing structure did look a lot more organised and in shape with Mason Mount in it. I think we'd lacked the presence of a striker, but I think from a team pressing shape, we certainly were better with Mason Mount in. And with Rasmus Hojlund, well, we've played the whole season so far without a fit, recognised striker. Because I don't particularly count Joshua Zirkzee as a striker, which might be a strange. He's kind of like a supporting striker. He's not somebody who's your traditional centre forward number 9. He'll sit just behind them. If there's a 2, you'd have the striker playing further up, and then Joshua Zirkzee playing just behind. So I call him a supporting striker. So I suppose he technically is a striker. But we certainly missed Hojlund. But that being said, are we going to play toward? I'm still a little bit confused. Totally honest, right? Because I think you've got, if you're sticking to that 4-2-4 system, right? 2 holding, then you've got a front 4. And that's how we've been pressing. We pressed well in the first couple of games. You've got Hojlund and Zirkzee who could both play there. It's probably the best position for Bruno. It's probably the best position for Mason Mount. And in that sense, you need 2 players for every position. So that makes sense. But in terms of choosing your starting 11, I don't really know. But I'm looking forward to getting Hojlund back. He hasn't played this season due to that injury pre-season against Arsenal. Last season, he got 16 goals, I think it was. And we have missed the presence of somebody who gets in the box, really. But the thing is, last season, we go back to it, we had Hojlund doing that all of last season, and we just didn't get any balls in the box. I wonder if that will change this year. I'm not sure. I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying. Alex, you're saying the question is whether Mount can up his game when in possession. I mean, it's not really just a case of that. That's a couple more photos from Man United. Mason Mount back in training. Clearly, Mason Mount, I think, adds a fair amount to United out of possession, which I think is kind of what you're sort of alluding to there, Alex. But when you're in possession, is Mason Mount of the quality that he's going to be in your starting 11 ahead of Zirkzee or Hojlund or Bruno? And probably not. I still say, at some point this season, I want to see a game where United play not in like a 4-4-2. If it's that 4-2-4 shape, I want to see Hojlund and Zirkzee playing there together. Really holding up play with each other, little 1-2s, little interlinks, and then feeding the 2 wingers who would probably be Rashford and Garnacho. I could just really see it working. Although in that formation, I don't know where Bruno Fernandes fits. He would have to drop to be one of the 2 central midfielders, which I don't. It's kind of. I don't know what the perfect formation is for all of these players. But having both of them back in training is good. Rasmus Hojlund saying, hold on here, Garnacho. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. I'll go down and read some of your comments here. Stevie saying Eric Ten Hag wants to try 1 number 6 and 2 number 8s. I'm getting PTSD thinking about that formation. It just didn't work. I don't think it can work. I think the demands on... Well, I don't care about what happens or whether it works in other teams. The demands on this United team and the way that we are playing with our squad, we can't play with 1 number 6. We need 2 central midfielders. It doesn't mean that one can't, go forward ahead of the other. It doesn't mean we have to have 2 that just sit alongside each other the whole game. But we can't play with 1 number 6 and 2 aggressive number 8s. We did that last season. 2 aggressive number 8s, 1 striker, 2 real traditional wingers, and we just got pulled apart because we did man marking. Don't think it can work. Rasmus Hojlund probably won't be on the bench for Palace. I imagine there's one more Premier League game that we will go without his involvement at all. But then you'll probably see him start against Twente, or at least get minutes against Twente, and then hopefully he'll be fit and ready for the Spurs game. So we'll probably just have to cope one more game. I imagine without both of them. I don't really think I'll see either of them. Let me go down here and see what you're saying. Maybe Mount will rotate with Mainoo. As a possibility. I put Mainoo and Casemiro down as sort of alternatives when I did my full squad for the season. Aaron, it is. And honestly, I think this is the first time in a while that we can probably say this about attacking options. I think you could argue for more than 3 players to be our front 3 against Palace at the weekend. I think that there's arguments about Rashford, there's arguments about Garnacho, there's arguments about Ahmad. Zirkzee, you could argue if you wanted him in there for the style that he brings. It's good. It's a good problem to have, and it's not really a problem we've had for a long time. I just saying I very much could see Xerxes as Bruno's backup if all 3 nines are fit and sharp. Again, I probably see Mount as Bruno's backup more than I see Mount as Mainoo's backup. But hey, 60 mil, by the way. We're talking about which player Mainoo's going to be backup for. That was a definite misappropriation of that amount of money, man. Mason Mount, I think Mason Mount will be a good squad player for United. I don't think he'll ever be more than that. And I don't think, because for 60 mil, you expect somebody to be that's high level starter value signing. That's more than we paid for Yoro or Xerxes or Delict or Mazraoui or Ugarte. More than we paid for all of them. And all of them are going to arguably be more important first team 11 players than Mason Mount will be. It's just, it's poor. It's poor in that sense of how much we pay for him. Mainoo set to get a new contract. I'll speak about that a little bit later. Mainoo for, Neil, Mainoo, Mount is versatile. I know. I don't personally think you pay 60 million for versatile. I think you pay 60 million for like an absolute specialist in a certain position. Yeah, squad players have their uses. Absolutely. Squad players do have their uses, but 60 mil is not a squad player value. And I don't think anything will really change that. Don't speak too soon. It's still early, says Aiden. I'm not saying that Mason Mount can't be a good player for Manchester United, because I think he will be. But I personally think that Mason Mount will be a good squad player for Manchester United. I don't think Mason Mount will ever establish himself in the same way that Bruno Fernandes is in this team. I'm not talking about goals and assist numbers. I'm talking about starting week in, week out and being indispensable to that starting 11. Just a personal feeling. Yeah, Fred, exactly. It was under the old regime, so that's not really something to have a go at Ineos about, but it's just, yeah, it's odd, isn't it? It's odd. Harmony saying, do you think we'll keep Mount next season? I think, well, that will very much depend on whether or not. If we go through another season here, touch wood for Mason Mount and all that. If we go through another season where Mason Mount he has a couple of good games and then he gets injured, that's what it was like with Phil Jones for so long. If that happens, I think there will be question marks from Ineos as to whether or not we go into a third season with Mason Mount. But if he stays fit, then I think Mason Mount will definitely be here next year. And I hope he does stay fit and he gets that run of games, because he was pretty decent in these first couple. Is what it is. I wouldn't call Mason Mount a McTominay replacement at all. I've already explained, I think that in terms of the goal threat that McTominay brings, Xerxes replaces him there. And it's kind of just going to sound harsh on McTominay, but he didn't really offer much else apart from the goal threat. In terms of things you have to replace. There's unquantifiable things that McTominay had. Like he was the academy product and he grinded it in training and he probably set an example to others. So there's sort of things that you can't really measure by what you see in a game that I think will be hard to replace. But in terms of the goal threat, I think Xerxes has replaced that. The disrespect Mount is getting is crazy, says Simi Skimmed. Dude, I'm not saying that Mason Mount cannot be a good squad player for Manchester United, and I really think he can be, and I think he was at the start of the season. I just don't think that he'll be ever really be starting 30-plus games for United in the Premier League. Just personal opinion. All right? Even if he is fit. Personal opinion. Right. Let's move on to the main topic. Unquantifiable intangibles. That's better. Unquantifiables? I think it kind of still makes sense. Let's speak about the stadium, okay? Our stadium deep dive is ready to go. And I'm trying to figure out when the best time to release it is. It really is. There is so much info packed into it. We run through what the Trafford regeneration project is. We've got some 3D visuals and mock-ups of what that would look like. We found those. We also run through the Buffalo Bills Stadium, what's going on there. We speak about Populous and what they've done, Foster and Partners, and what's going on with Carrington. I mean, honestly, it is so info-packed, it's ridiculous. But there's quite a few things that have been said this week around the new stadium that I want to speak about. And this is the first of it, right? Manchester United the Old Trafford Task Force is what it's called, is going to be delivering the recommendations by the end of the year, which we already knew about, but just a little bit more confirmation here from The Athletic. By the end of December, we will know, right, whether or not Manchester United are going to be getting a new stadium. That's always been I think that was the deadline that we spoke about for a while, but there wasn't any sort of article from The Athletic suggesting it was definitely going to be then. But here we have it, right? So it's the 19th of September. 3 months, within the next 3 months, we will find out whether or not there's going to be a new Old Trafford or whether Old Trafford is going to be knocked down or whether there's going to be a brand new stadium, right? I'm going to run through all of those. Ah, man. The king himself, King Nuruddin, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, Father of Dragons. Can't remember all the other things. Man, I love Game of Thrones until the last season. But Nuruddin's just gifted 50, dude. You're helping me with all of these, man. And so much more. It is a good morning. Let's get Casemiro out. Soundboard, I'm going to be working with Mark on getting that done. Big up, Mark.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello.
That worked. I saw that came through nicely. Good. Well, maybe it's just Google Chrome that I need to fix. The rest is working okay. All right, I'll get that done. Neil saying Jim Ratcliffe wants a Wembley of the North. We absolutely know that. But this is an important aspect of it, right? Manchester United are going to be launching a survey to fans to ensure that the views of its fans are at the heart of plans, geez, that all rhymes, for the future of Old Trafford and the regeneration of the Trafford Wharfside area. So the fan survey is going to be going out on Friday via emails. And who's going to be getting it? Let's have a look. There you go. It will offer all men and women's teams season ticket holders, all United members and executive club members the opportunity to provide their views directly to the club. So, ladies and gents, if you're a season ticket holder, if you're lucky enough to be a season ticket holder, or a United member, or you own an exec ticket, very nice, you will be getting an email on Friday from the club where you can put your views forward. Now, we've already done our polls here on United People's TV, and I think they kind of get split a little bit, don't they? There is no easy answer here, in my opinion. Nuruddin saying, wouldn't mind me one of those posters. I'll get you one sent out, dude. All right? That'll be my thank you to you. You can choose which one. So make sure you reach out to me on Discord, make sure I've got your address, and I'll get one of those posted out to you. All right? I mean, we've spoken so often on here about what the right thing to do is. Truth be told, it is the single biggest, and I've said this a few times, it is the single biggest decision that Ineos will make as Manchester United co-owners. They are leading the charge. The Glazers are not leading on anything to do with this. They are just following basically instructions from Ineos. Now, that fan survey is going to be a really important one. I don't personally think that You know what I kind of think? I personally feel that the Old Trafford Task Force has kind of made up their mind on what they want to see. And Gary Neville, this is probably going to be a video that I could do tomorrow. As I said, there's quite a lot of stuff that's come out here. There's a full interview with Gary Neville with Andy Mitten where he speaks about everything to do with the stadium. He's saying here he wants to see the world of Manchester United around the stadium, and we've spoken about that before. You look at the SoFi Stadium, it's part... You know what's mad, right? SoFi Stadium in LA, that plot that it's on is 270 acres, which is 3.5 times the size of Disneyland. That's how big that area is. They've got a 6,000 YouTube theatre. They've got watch the video. There's so much more info. But the point here is the project out there is huge. And the project for Manchester United and building around the stadium and building an extra, for example, 5,000-seater arena that you could then host concerts and stuff like that. Or you could build an extra museum, or you could build a little Manchester United world where you can walk into it. It's not... It kind of sounds a little bit Disney, but it's about making the experience beyond just the 90 minutes and beyond like going to the Bishop's Blaze or beyond going for a couple of drinks in pubs outside, but they're trying to bring it all in. Joe, the video's not out yet. As I said, it's one of our proper deep dives. Just deciding when the right time to release the video is, because there's so many games. It's kind of one of the frustrating things. Whenever United lose a game, even if we've got a really high quality piece of content, no one wants to watch it because I can't be bothered. Whereas if United win and the energy is up, then people are more receptive to videos like that. So that's why you have to kind of pick and choose as to when to do it. I kind of feel that the Old Trafford task force has kind of made up their own mind of what they would like. They've looked at all the feasibility research that's been going on for the last, 4 or 5 months? And I think they've made their own mind up. And now they want to see what the fans are thinking. And I think it's probably more to find out, well, do fans agree with what we think we should do? Or do they massively disagree? And if there's like a polar opposite opinion of what the Old Trafford task force has got and what the fans are saying, then maybe they would sort of rethink what they're doing. But this came out from Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail last night, which is first time I've seen this. Okay. And again, this definitely warrants another video. And he's suggesting that Manchester United have decided they're going to be demolishing Old Trafford because of the costs that would be involved in repurposing it. This is what they say. Man United are ready to abandon plans to keep Old Trafford if they build a new stadium next door. It will be bulldozed to the ground. Strong words. If they decide against redeveloping it, I'll make your mind up, man. You know what this is, in my opinion? Chris Wheeler, I think he's got his information, he's got his sources, and he trusts them enough to do a headline like that. But I haven't seen it anywhere else. And it kind of feels like Chris is sort of not jumping the gun, but going strong with his own sources. I haven't seen this being reported anywhere else. Gary Neville's been speaking about the concept of repurposing it. We've heard it quite a lot of time. I mean, it would be, I don't even know how much. I have no idea, right? But if they do repurpose Old Trafford, you're going to have to reduce it. Right. If they repurpose Old Trafford so it becomes a stadium for the women's team and the academy teams, even if it was 30,000, 30,000 is a massive stadium. It's bigger than most football stadiums in the country. Women's teams and the academy teams, it would probably still be too big for them. So you might have to go even smaller than that. And I have no idea of the cost of reducing Old Trafford down to, say, 40%, even 30% of the current capacity. I mean, what would you have to do? You'd surely have to sort of deconstruct it, take the roofs, take all the roofs off, take the stands, and then just bit by bit remove parts of the stands, and then cut part of the roof off and put the roof back onto a smaller environment. I don't know. I've absolutely no idea. That's almost more confusing. Ish. I mean, maybe not more confusing, but it feels like it. Let's see what it's saying down here. Look at that. Got one here from random little story here from Finn, who's Academy Scoop. Samuel Lascelles has now officially signed his contract, and there he is at Old Trafford. So that's the 16-year-old lad that we signed from Crystal Palace. He's now signed for the club. But let's go back to this. Let me see what you're saying. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Please don't knock down Old Trafford. There's too many memories. Boy, yeah, there's a lot of memories there, man. Joel, you're saying reducing Old Trafford down will cost $500,000 or $500 million to $1 billion? I mean, I've got no idea, man. Nuruddin, you're saying the average attendance for a women's game is 10K. Well, if you aim, the women's game will continue to grow. So say in a few years' time, that might be average attendance might be 15K. And then 5-6 years down the line, it might be 20K. So you probably go for a 20K stadium to cope with that growth. And 20K would be more than enough for the academy teams too. What else is being said down here? Would be nice for some restaurants and high tea spots. Well, there's a lot that could be done. And we cover it all in the video. Jonathan saying most people don't like change and are sentimental and nostalgic, so I expect the survey to be a no with fans. Most youngsters probably want shiny and brand new. It's about finding that balance, right? Wrong one. Right one. Old Trafford means a lot to millions. It means a lot to Manchester. It means a lot to the local community. It means a lot to everyone. So you can't just willy-nilly and knock it down. You've got the Munich Tunnel. You've got the Trinity statue. You've got so much there, which means so much, but there's so much of it which just doesn't feel capable of coping with modern requirements. I don't know the right way to describe it. Just need a good burger van, says Simon. We're simple beings, all right, football fans. Just want a good, but you know that smell you get, that burger van smell, which is it's like the classic football match smell for me, like slightly overdone onions and a burger that's probably about 23% beef. That's the smell of a football match. Akash, what are you saying down here? Saying, sorry, Sam, I have to disagree here. The stadium is not the biggest priority for Ineos. The on-pitch performance challenge would be ahead of the stadium project for me. I didn't say it was the biggest priority, Akash. I said that it's the single biggest decision. This is a decision that will affect the next 100 years of history. Whether or not Ineos make the football team successful is going to be affecting the short term on a year-by-year basis. But in terms of the biggest impact and a sort of legacy decision, if you want to call it that, the one that's going to have the longest impact, it's definitely what they do with the new stadium. Daniel saying, only asking fans that have been at the stadium makes it more fair. Yes, there's history, but the fans that have been at Old Trafford and seen how it is behind the scenes and the conditions of it. Hey, Daniel, I think I've said this before. There really is, and there should be a consideration of how different the opinions will be of a match-going fan that's been going for 20, 30 years with his brothers, with his dad, with his son, with his anybody else, and has experienced consistently that as part of the match day ritual. They are going to have a different opinion because their experience of it is far more than just... I'm not saying that global fans, their experience is just watching the game, because that's not true. But you have to admit that the experiences are different for those regular match goers than those who watch United from around the world. That's just the truth. Now, you might get offended with me saying that, but that is absolutely correct. And I think that's why that fan survey is really, really important. See, look, they're getting all views from anybody who's a United member from all around the world, so you can all have your say on it. They're not being ignored, but it's good that this is required before any decision is truly made. And we will find out, as I said, come the end of December, what goes on with Old Trafford. Now, let me read a few more of your comments out down here, because I think it's a really interesting conversation. Tyler saying, Sam, would the Glazers have any opinion on the rebuild or a new stadium? As far as I know, Tyler, before Ineos came, remember that Ineos, no, not Ineos. The Glazers appointed Populous back in 2022 to look into what the possibilities were, right? Don't know what it was called. Like they were like master developers or some sort of weird title. So they were looking into all the options, and it would definitely have just been a rebuild or a regeneration if it was the Glazers, because they wouldn't have been able to bring in the money required for a new stadium, and nor would they have wanted to pay any part of it themselves. So I think financially, a new stadium would have just never been on the cards under the Glazers if they were still just completely in charge. Apner saying, if we are to demolish Old Trafford, why not just rebuild at the same site and keep the same spot? I mean, that's, I suppose, a possibility. But if you're going to do that, why would you not just try and keep at least the foundations of Old Trafford and build on that? If you're just going to tear it all down and build a new stadium on the same spot. MD saying, whatever the decision is going to take a long time, and we'll find out. And you're saying bricks and mortar don't mean heritage to me. It's the memories, the camaraderie, and the friendships over the years. I do. I think I've said this quite a few times. I even did a video on it specifically. I said I do think that the new stadium route is the correct one to go down. But I would love Manchester United to be able to find a feasible way to repurpose Old Trafford into something that can be used for the academy teams and the women's teams. Like, if you just want to speak about the academy first, and I'll speak about the women's team after. The academy has been like the core of our club for forever. It is one of, if you're asking all United fans about around the world, youth, like playing youth, that's going to be one of, what is Manchester United's identity? Youth is going to be like right at the centre of it for pretty much everyone. And they have never had a permanent home to play in. Playing games at Carrington, playing games at Lee Sports Village. Like, the academy has never had its own home, if you want to call it that. So just imagine that Old Trafford, which was once the home and is the spiritual home of Manchester United and has been for over 100 years, imagine that's where the academy, all the under-18s games are played there, all the under-21s games are played there, and all the women's teams games are played there as well. The women's team, which obviously was only established in the last few years, it's growing in popularity. The women's game is massively growing in popularity. And imagine they can call that home. You'd have games going there so often. And because you put it in that location, more people will go and see the youth teams play. You would increase the appeal of watching the academy teams play if you did it at Old Trafford. That's what I would love to see, but I have no idea how complicated that is. And maybe Chris Wheeler is correct. Maybe United have looked at it and feasibility-wise, they've gone, it's probably not going to be possible. But I hope not. Someone sent a super chat. Let me read some more comments out down here. If we are to demolish Old Trafford, why not rebuild? Well, you've already said that. We should also have an academy stadium as a temporary home. I don't know. Jonathan, you think that Ineos have already decided? I personally, I think they've decided, but they want to make sure that the fans won't be completely angry. That's in my opinion what this fan survey is. What else are we saying down here? Rebuild a new stadium, use the old one for the academy and women, and maybe concerts, even sent. You could do that. And I tell you what, right? Steve, who I did the research with, he mentioned this once as an idea. And as soon as he said it, I was like, and that's such a ridiculously good idea. It's like, almost imagine you kept a lot of the structure of what Old Trafford was, but you took out like the whole top tier stands and you turned it into hotel. So half of what Old Trafford is would then just become a big hotel that people can then buy rooms at, and then half of it would still be kept as the football pitch for the academy teams and the women's teams. And then you could then repurpose that and use it as an event space, concert space, because you'd have space for like, I don't know how many thousands. I thought the idea of like turning, like halfway when you go wrapping round and you've got some corporate boxes, like kind of turning those into hotel rooms. I thought that was an interesting idea. I suppose United have looked at all of these options as well. Richard saying, Sam, where would we play if a new stadium is due to be built? Old Trafford. there's going to be a new stadium. We're playing at Old Trafford. If they're rebuilding Old Trafford, I've got no idea where we're playing. We're not going to do it at Wembley, but that will be the only place that could hold the same amount of fans. But I very much doubt that they would relocate their home games to Wembley. Wesley saying if they build a new stadium next door, we can carry on playing in the current stadium. That's exactly what I just said there. I don't think that we're going to be playing anywhere else. Stephanie saying Old Trafford was bombed during World War II. We played at Main Road. Yeah, but Main Road even there anymore? First of all. Second of all, it's not going to happen. I think the only thing that exists from the old, if I'm correct, the only thing that exists from Old Trafford from pre-war, because of the bombing, is the main tunnel in the middle. It's not the tunnel we use anymore. It's still there, by the way. But the old tunnel that used to come out of the middle of the pitch, that's the original tunnel, and I think that's still there. And I think apart from that, nothing else is like original. Yeah, I thought Main Road was not down. Bodie saying, I think it would also boost the academy players' confidence and develop their brain to play in a proper football environment. Just imagine that. That's such a cool concept. The academy sides having a permanent home. Like the under-18s and the under-21s having a permanent home. They play their games at Old Trafford. Once or twice, well, however often they play. They play at Old Trafford. I think that would just elevate our academy and the appeal of our academy. Imagine that. You're like, well, you're someone like Samuel Lascelles. And all of a sudden, you're playing for United's academy team and you're playing in Old Trafford. You're playing your games at Old Trafford whilst a brand new 100,000-seater stadium sits next door. That's like mind blown. That is a seriously appealing prospect to any academy players. What's going on down here? Play Everton's new gaff. They'll need financing when they go down. Hope this is the year that Everton finally go down. But yeah, to summarise, we're going to be hearing about the decision towards the end of December. We know that. That's been the case for a while. On Friday, there's going to be a survey going out from the club to all season ticket holders, men's and women's, and all United members and exec club holders, club members, asking your opinion on what you think should happen. So you can have your say. I think it's about 500,000 overall that are going to be getting that email. Gary Neville has been speaking about it. I think this interview's worth covering in a separate video, which I might do tomorrow. He wants to see the regeneration around Manchester United Stadium and not just a stadium. And then you got Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail suggesting that United have already decided, well, actually, doesn't make sense. We can't reduce Old Trafford. Let's see if he's correct. But he's the only one saying that at this moment in time. To finish the show today, a little quick conversation we can have around Kobbie Mainoo, somebody from the academy, huh? But he would have loved to have. Obviously, he played at Old Trafford. Was the only time he played at Old Trafford with the under-18s? Was that the FA Youth Cup? I think the FA Youth Cup semi was played there as well. I think it was. And there ended up being, I believe, was it 30-odd thousand fans were at the FA Youth Cup final? One where Garnacho scored the winner. I think so, came off the bench. Yeah, Ryan, if you remember, you'll get an email on Friday. Akash saying, will there be a new tram line going through to the new... If there is a new stadium, Manchester United have to improve the infrastructure around it. Definitely, you're going to have to look at a new tram stop. You might even look at reworking the train lines. Sam Platts. Jeez, Jonathan, now you're taking me back. Sam Platts used to be the spot to drink. Just come over the bridge, turn right, and you just go in there and you just literally buy a crate of you just buy a crate of Foster's, and you'd all just stand outside with a lukewarm can of Foster's, just singing songs. I used to love Sam Platts. That was when I used to be able to go a bit more. Missed that one. Anyway, Kobbie. I mean, this will come as absolutely no surprise to anybody, but Manchester United are in negotiations with Kobbie Mainoo over a new contract. He's going to sign a new contract. He's staying. It'll just happen at some point. Love Kobbie. And I've got absolutely no worries that he's not going to sign a new contract. So that's just going to be fun whenever that does and whenever that comes out. Let me read some of your comments out down here. A raised monorail. That just reminds me of Simpsons. The monorail episode. That was good. What else are you saying down here? Joe, you saying you were at Sandplatz that last day? Ross, warm beer sounds nuts to me. Nothing you can do, man. You buy a crate. What are you going to do? Put it in the fridge? No. Just drink it warm and stop complaining. Yeah, I think that's all the main talking points for today, really. Oh, did you see this? I thought this was really cool. Let me just turn the sound off on this. You don't need sound. I did. This is somebody who had this seat for the Barnsley game. Just sat right there. Oh, you're going to shut me down for copyright, aren't you? Ah, boo. Never mind. Anyway, that was his seat. Right there, behind Ten Hag and Ruud, watching the game. That's some way to watch a game. Should we zoom in? What we got on here? What app are you using? I want to see what Ruud is doing for the games. Yeah, that's it for today. As I said, I think this is the single biggest, personally, I think it's the single biggest decision that they have to make. It's the one that's going to have the longest lasting impact. Biggest priority right now in the short term, of course, is the football team. Yeah, I know. Warm Fosters is a punishment. Cold Fosters is a punishment. What's worse, Fosters or Carling? Probably Foster. I don't know. It's like choosing which leg to cut off, really. Having one of those. Man, my first beer was a Carling. You know, you like sneak in your dad's fridge. You're like, oh, go on in. Well, you drink that all the time. I'd have some of that. I was like, didn't take me long until I loved it, though. They're both bad. What's someone there saying, you need to... Yeah, no, I do need to know. That's exactly what I'm thinking, Jonathan. I planned on releasing this deep dive during the October international break. But it seems like quite a lot of information is coming out around the stadium, so I think I'm going to have to release it sooner. Probably next week, I think so. Probably next week. Joe, Foster's is not okay, right? No one ever say that. Anthony is saying, oh, but there's Foster's sympathisers in the comments down here. Mods, ban them all. Ban them all. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. But as I said earlier in the show, right? I'll say it one more time. Oh. Thank you all for supporting me, for following me. And finally, we're going to be launching these new posters tomorrow. All right? And I loved it. Look how cool this looks. Big up to John for designing this for us. But it really brings them to life. And that's exactly what I was looking for. They just look so cool. So these are the first 3 that are going to be launched. And there will be more launched over the course of the season. But these first 3 going out tomorrow. Oh, God. First 3 are going to be going out tomorrow. Make sure you check out the community tab. I'll leave your discount codes if you're a squad member or a team captain or a legend. All right? That's coming tomorrow. And it's Friday as well. So hopefully I can get this working again. Well, to be fair, it did work, but I can't play the sound through here anymore. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Boop. Take it easy, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. And Nuruddin, thank you so much, dude. I always say thank you, and I can't say it enough.